Hey guys, good afternoon. Today's January 7th, 2021. Uh, I don't know if the date is that relevant, but I think it is. So, this video is going to be on something that some of you may not agree with, some of you may agree with. Um, but, like I said in a couple other videos, I'm documenting me because I want my grandkids, my great grandkids, um, family that may never get to truly know me, uh, to see what I stand for, believe in, my thoughts. Maybe I can teach them something along the way, which is why I do the cooking and the fish stuff. And, you guys will eventually get to see some woodworking stuff. It's just been too cold to get out to the shed to do that. But anyhow, so this video today is going to be kind of like a year in review, but mostly on the kind of the shenanigans of this last year and and my view and my thoughts on it at any rate. Like I said, you may not agree with the thing I say, and that's okay. That's your right. So we started off our year on a national level with a pandemic. COVID-19 hit, and here's a bit of history. The 19 stands for the year it started, not because this is the 19th strain or there's no hidden message behind it. This strain of virus came out in 2019. It hit in China first, as we all know, moved its way around Europe, made its way over here. Moving forward, um, as of today, there's over 350,000 people dead, um, all due to COVID-related death. Now, they may have had an underlying cause. From what we've seen, diabetes is one. People who have diabetes that catch this seem to be not doing, not faring on the good end of that. But that doesn't change the fact that COVID was ultimately what got them. Diabetes is treatable, it's maintainable, and most of these people were maintaining it. They didn't ask to get COVID, they didn't ask to die. All right, so those of you who think that it's because of an underlying cause, they still didn't need to get COVID. Um, so we've had millions of people here just in the U.S. contract this. 350,000 of them plus are dead from this, and we've almost been at this a year. Now, for a long time, our federal government, I'm about to bash our federal government, just to let you know now. So if you don't want to watch this, go ahead and turn it off. It's okay. But our federal government was made aware of this virus back in January. Our president was, President Donald J. Trump. But told everybody it'll be okay. It's like the flu, And then he tells everybody it's going to disappear in April, and that not that many people are going to get it, and we'll all be fine. And then we find out down the road that he knew this was going to kill a lot of people, and that it was very serious, and that it was airborne. And he just didn't tell us because he wanted to protect us, which is a joke. Anybody, you should always, before this should be a learning lesson for you, you should always be forward and honest, okay? And this wasn't forward or honest. We're all big kids. We can learn from this. All right, so fast forwarding, our scientists work hard. While our scientists are working hard, this virus overtakes the U.S. Our hospitals are overrun. Our nurses and doctors are on the front lines of this. They're trying to take care of people. Our hospitals are steadily overwhelmed. They're still overwhelmed to this day. there gets to be a point of fatigue, almost like a battle fatigue, but fatigue all the same. We've had nurses and doctors committing suicide. We have nurses and doctors that haven't seen their families in months, sleeping in RVs in the parking lot so they don't contract it and give it to their family members and their loved ones. Meanwhile, scientists are working very hard, very quickly to get a vaccine. We're not even trying for a cure, we're trying for a vaccine first, which is okay. 9 months later, we finally get a vaccine and it's approved by the FDA. That's awesome. That's actually quicker than any normal drug. Most normal drugs take years before they get approval. We did this in months. Go team. So we go quick. We're all excited because we have a vaccine. Pfizer and AstraZeneca get their vaccines out. All right, they have millions of doses available. Yet, out of the 17 million doses available on the first round, as of 3 weeks later, a month later, 4 million people have had their vaccine. Our federal government has dropped the ball on this, on getting it out, getting a game plan together. They left it up to states and counties, which is okay to some extent, to put a game plan together to see who gets a vaccine first. The given was doctors and nurses, people on the front line. Agreed. But there's no game plan to do this. This is a United States issue. The federal government should be involved. It shouldn't just be state and local governments. All right? So we dropped the ball. Now we still have millions of people dying. We have a president who's not going to be in office but another couple of weeks, who has done nothing for the last month but complain about how he lost an election and deny that he's lost the election. Hasn't even focused at all once on a pandemic that's killing people. Now our Dr. Fauci, who is the leading most authority on this disease and works for our government, has said that we could potentially lose up to 600,000 people before this is all said and done. That is 2% of our population here in the U.S. Unacceptable. All because we did not utilize a game plan. I don't even know if we had one. Nobody actually talked about one. All you ever heard was, oh, we have a plan. Well, what's your plan? Well, we have a plan. That was it. So, while all this is going on, some people, and I'm going to assume fine people, or at least good people, I never met him, a gentleman named George Floyd, another gentleman named Rayshard Brooks, Breonna Taylor, and countless others. Matter of fact, looking while I was reading, there have been 41 people that of the black community who have died just this year by being shot by police. Most of them were home in bed, eating dinner. Rayshard Brooks fell asleep in his car in a drive-through, in the parking lot of a drive-through, and ended up being shot. None of them had weapons. All right. Which, in my opinion, if you're going to draw your gun, it better be because you have somebody else drawing their gun. All right. There are too many alternatives. But anyhow, going forward, this enraged the black community. And I understand it. People of color have been battling for equality for hundreds of years. And I didn't realize for a long time the struggle. And I grew up in a culturally diversified neighborhood. I had friends of every color, shape, and size, and never once realized it. took this year to show me how much racism there really is in the world. I thought we were getting better for decades. I thought we were getting better at making progress. And then this all starts. So 41 people of color lose their lives. The Black Lives Matter movement, along with countless others, protest. Okay? Well-deserved protest. There are people dying in the streets by the hands of police officers. White police officers mostly, but police officers. For no reason, no good reason. When you shoot a man who is having a mental episode, instead of getting him help, he wasn't armed, he didn't have a gun, and even if he had a knife, so what? You have a taser. Tase him. Take the knife from him, put the handcuffs on him, take him to jail. Get him help. Get him help. And the others were just plain senseless. Even with George Floyd, they stopped him because they thought he passed a $20 counterfeit bill. That did not mean put your knee in his neck. Wow. He wasn't even resisting. He was cooperating, and that still happened. Okay, so in his case, and I'm going to use his case, not to take away from the others, by any means, because it's horrible. All right. So why did they think this was okay? I think a lot of it is because of Donald Trump, our current president, allowing, and in so many words, for racism to be okay by supporting white supremacists, neo-Nazis, and every form of racist out there. It was okay. I guarantee you that officer who had his knee shoved into George Floyd's neck knew what he was doing and didn't care. He thought to himself, I'm sure at one point, it's just another black man. And I don't know how that happened. I cannot wrap my head around. I am struggling with how anybody can hate somebody because of the color of their skin. I boggles my mind. I mean, it tenfold. So they start protesting, right? Black Lives Matter starts protesting. People are protesting everywhere, not just Black Lives Matter. Around the world, people are protesting. They're protesting in England for this. Awesome. Just flat out awesome. That's neat. Everybody's exercising their right to protest, and they're doing it well. So on the first couple nights that there's protests going on, at least in the U.S., there is some looting, some breaking of windows, some spray painting, some vandalism of buildings. And I think, I don't know for sure if it happened that very first night or two, but eventually a couple fires. All right. Now, one of them I think was really big, but I'll say fires. I'm getting somewhere with this because it escalates weirdly. So now all of a sudden for protests, you've got almost martial law being declared in some states. You have officers in full-blown riot gear looking like the military in something out of a sci-fi movie, pepper spraying, tear gassing, rubber bulleting protesters, peaceful protesters. If you look at the protesters in Washington, D.C., you see what appear to be military men, and they may have been just police officers in camouflage riot gear, on the Capitol steps for peaceful protesters for the Black Lives Matter. All right? So you've got that. Meanwhile, you've got a 16-year-old kid who travels out of state to another state with an assault rifle, kills a person in a protest, and they're walking at him because he has an assault rifle in his hand, and he's firing it, wounds 2 people, kills 1. The police let him walk away, literally walk away. He walks right by him as they're running to the scene of the shooting, and then nothing has happened as of yet. You know, it's like our authorities and government said it's okay. He's white. Yeah, no, it's not okay. It's not okay at all. It is not okay for anybody to take anybody's life ever. Okay, end of discussion. You cannot violently take somebody's life. Done. All right. Now that we got that covered. So now we've got protests in the streets, a little bit of looting. I don't even say, we'll say some looting, some vandalism, and a heavy police presence with this, right? The President of the United States is calling them all thugs and thieves. Everybody, not just a handful of people that are actually doing the looting and the vandalism. Everybody, every single protester is a thug. All right, that's what he said. So we started out his career with bad hombres if you are Hispanic, and now you're a thug if you're black or care about what happens to anybody in the black community. All right, he supports the white supremacist rallies. Charlottesville, white supremacist rally. You know, what are they protesting? They're protesting their right to hate other people. In the process, somebody anti-protesting them, is killed at the rally. And President Trump says, well, there's good people on both sides. I take issue with that only because those people were originally there protesting their right to hate other people. That doesn't tell me they're good people at all. They're hating other people. You know, they're there protesting their right to hate people of color, to hate Jewish people, Muslim people. Doesn't matter. If you are not white and Christian, they don't like you. And they're there protesting because they feel that their rights are being violated. They're there showing their asses, basically. You know, not cool. Not cool. And to say that there are good people on both sides is just mind-boggling. All right, so we get through the summer. All right, we haven't changed any gun laws. We haven't broke up the protests. We haven't even really condemned white supremacy, neo-Nazis, or racism. This is our federal government I'm talking about. And I'm not talking just our federal government. I'm talking about a handful of influential people in our federal government. A handful of senators, handful of congressmen, our president. All right, nothing's been condemned yet. As far as they're concerned, because they follow what Trump says, it's okay to be a racist. It's okay to hate people. You know, it's okay to not like somebody for the color of their skin or what their beliefs are. All right? This is where we're headed. And I would like to think when we put him in office along with these other yahoos in the Senate and Congress, we didn't really know that that's what they stood for. It was like disguised. And then all of a sudden, Trump became president and he let the world know it was okay to be a racist. It's not okay to be a racist. It's not okay to be a liar, a thief, a racist, none of that. So, sorry, I had to write all this down because I'm angry. I know it doesn't show, but I've had 24 hours to process this because I did a video last night and I was very angry and YouTube probably wouldn't have let it on there. So I'm doing a calm one now. But I needed to write all this down so I don't forget every point I want to make. So we're in Charlottesville. Person dies, good people on both sides because hatred's okay. All right. And our federal government has condoned this. And I'll even say the whole federal government, because when we couldn't even get him out of office when he was impeached. So now let's just move on to yesterday. All right. Well, we had our elections. All right. Let's go before yesterday. We had our presidential election this last year, 2020, and it was the largest turnout ever in history of elections for the U.S., and Donald Trump lost. All right. He got 74 million votes, and he lost. He lost to a gentleman who was our vice president named Joe Biden. Joe Biden got 80 million votes. Okay. Now, according to Donald Trump, the elections were rigged. He was spewing that before the elections even happened, but the elections are rigged because Joe Biden won 4 states that the Republican Party and Donald Trump felt they should have won because they were traditional states. Georgia being the biggest example of that. Matter of fact, they recounted Georgia's ballots 3 times to find a difference of I think it was 20. Out of millions of votes out of Georgia, they found 20 that were inaccurate. So, and he still swears up and down to the point where he actually called a federal official in Georgia and asked him to change 11,780 votes because that was the right thing to do because he won, even though he didn't win. So, we're there, all right? Meanwhile, he is feeding his base these lies, that the election was rigged, that it was unfair, that it was actually the Venezuelan government and the people who make the voting machines that did this because they conspired with all 50 states to rig the voting boxes. Not possible. Didn't happen. Okay? And the big thing was it was only in the states that Biden had won, not in the states he had won. So anyhow, and that's a broad overview. There's a lot more to it than that. But point being, he didn't win. All right? But he's feeding his base this lie. Okay? Those 74 million Americans that voted for him believe this. All right, so we've hit this point. All right, we still have lies and deception going on. We've got America divided, with social injustice on one side and people who are racist. And that might be a generalization, but it's a damn accurate one. Okay, and then stuck in the middle are the people who care. Who don't believe in racism, who don't believe in white supremacy. So America's divided, right? Right down the middle, damn near. 74 million on one half, 80 million on another half, with a man in the middle who says that the 80 million people who did not vote for him are wrong and their vote doesn't count. So the Electoral College happens. What the Electoral College does is you get so many votes per state based on your population and the way it voted. You need 270 votes in order to win the Electoral College vote. Joe Biden got 303 of those votes. And they made their announcement, sorry, dryer going off. They made their announcement December 22nd of 2020. I think it was the 22nd, but it was in December at any rate. To verify all votes across the nation. Boom, done. Joe has got it. So on January 6th, 2020, which this happens with every presidential election, there is a ceremony that goes on that's truly I don't want to say it's meaningless or it wouldn't be a ceremony, but it doesn't hold water to anything. You can't change anything. The U.S. Congress meets on January 6th every 4 years, and they officially recognize the Electoral College votes. They have a representative from each state stand up and say, here is the votes. They look official. The paperwork is filled out right. There is no contestment. Now, over the last 20 years, for every presidential election, there's been at least one contestant. Somebody that says, no, something's wrong with a state. Doesn't change anything. It causes a debate between congressmen and senators in their respective chambers, and then they decide whether it's valid or not, and they move on. Best example of that, we'll take this year. Say, like with Georgia, if they would have contested it and sent the Electoral College votes back to be redone, that wasn't enough of a loss of Electoral College votes to change the outcome of the race. It has never affected the voting power of citizens. Okay, so there's really nothing to be done. But we decided that we were going to have 140 total congressmen and senators say that they were going to go against this. All right, Republicans. Doesn't matter. Congress is Democrat heavy. They're run by the Democrats, and it would never make it out of Congress. But you have to go through the act of, hey, we don't agree with this, and then debate it. All right, 6 states. Somebody said no, these aren't right, and so they had to debate it. It was going to take, honest to God, about 12 hours. So on January 6th, they go in to do this, this ceremonial thing to officially certify the Electoral College. Meanwhile, here's the best one. President Trump is holding a rally literally down the street from the Capitol building, where he encourages, and you can look this up, you can watch the speech on YouTube or any media outlet, including Fox and all that. You can watch his speech where he says, we need to march right down to the Capitol right now and stop this. He says we, first of all. Well, we meant he was going back to the White House to literally watch TV so he could watch everything come up on the news, while thousands of his supporters marched down to the Capitol building. So now we've got thousands of protesters out front, and they're just protesting. Nothing huge going on. You've got congressmen and senators inside the Capitol that are getting ready to do this confirmation of the Electoral College votes. And everything seems kind of normal. Not even a whole lot of security, which is weird, only because they had been told for weeks that there was the potential for problems, for trouble. Yet, nothing's going on. 2 hours into this bad boy, about 1,000 people bum rushed the Capitol building. Ends up being almost everybody that was there protesting, which is thousands of people. They bum rushed the Capitol building, break inside the Capitol building. In the process, 4 people are killed. 4. Last night, we only knew of 1. All right. And it was a young lady, a protester. Okay. She was there because she was a Trump supporter. That's horrible. Nobody should die. Not like that. Not for these reasons. I'm sure she didn't plan on dying that day. I'm sure that security guard didn't plan on shooting her. But what gives you the right to do this? So, all right, so moving forward, they break in. They got to rush Congress and the Senate into basically kind of like safe rooms. It's their chambers down in the basement where they have armed officers standing at the doors to this with their guns drawn because there's people trying to get in. You've got people sitting on in the the big meeting room in the House, just going through desks that have had great men sit at them, and they're starting to destroy things. They're starting to steal things. There's pictures of it online. Guys carrying out all kinds of crap. Breaking into desks. There's one guy holding up an envelope that he stole that was addressed to Nancy Pelosi. So why did they do this? Because one person told them so. All right, so now you've got thousands of people inside or trying to be inside the Capitol building. They've announced that they're taking over, that this is basically the new world order. That Republicans and Democrats don't matter anymore, that they're going to do it their way. They replaced the American flag with a Donald Trump flag on our nation's capital, which tells me they don't care about America, or that flag would have been flying the entire time. Of course, if they cared about America, they wouldn't have stormed the Capitol building, and 4 people wouldn't have died. So, that being said, they eventually come and they tear gas some people, do some flashbangs. They get them 6 o'clock curfew hits because of the pandemic, and they finally about 7:30 get everybody out of the building. They do a sweep. They find 2 pipe bombs, one inside the Capitol, one outside on the grounds. Obviously not detonated, but they're there, which means they could have been used. And Congress and the Senate reconvene, and they start their process till 4 this morning. Now, I blame President Trump for this, but at the same time, I don't completely blame President Trump for this. I don't know about you, but my mom and dad taught me how to tell right from wrong. All right? So these weren't kids that were protesting. These were grown people who I would like to think know right from wrong, have a sense of morality. I can't believe. So I know when I hear Donald Trump speak that it's a lie. All right? I can't recall one truth I ever heard come out of his mouth. And why would you ever follow somebody word for word all the time? I voted for Joe Biden. I know he's not going to really do half the stuff that he wants to do, but I like his plan. And until you show me and I see it, I'm never going to completely believe it. Doesn't matter who it is, especially in politics. But these people blindly followed Donald Trump verbatim. So I guess these are the things that make me angry, and this is the reason why my heart has been breaking for months now. Between the amount of racism that truly exists, which I don't understand how that's even a thing. There is, and obviously these people never heard of it. There's a thing that's called the Golden Rule. Okay? And it's do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And I know that these people have not heard of this. And I know this based on 6 months ago, these were the same people that were screaming, these people need to be locked up. They need to be thrown in prison. Protesters who were protesting because there were people being murdered. They wanted social equality. They wanted to simply be treated equal. Now you have these same people that were like, all these people are thugs. They need to be locked up because they stole a pair of Nikes, broke some windows, and sprayed some spray paint on the side of a wall. Breaking into the nation's Capitol building, wanting to take, one person was looking for Nancy Pelosi. They wanted to take her hostage. So you have them defacing the Capitol building, breaking into the Capitol building, causing the death of 4 people, wanting to kidnap, breaking into the Capitol building is a federal offense in itself. But you know as well as I do, nothing will probably come of that. It just won't. And I'm going to tell you why. Because it's a bunch of old white men who are going to have to judge other white guys. This is just my honest belief. If that would have been Black Lives Matter protesters out there, well, there would have been like 800 military people out there to stop them. But even if they'd have made it past the doors, they would be in prison by now. It's only been a day. But I guarantee you that's not going to happen. And like I said, you're probably not going to like this video, and I don't care, but I got to get this off my chest because it's something that I have to say. There's so much wrong right now. And there's so many people that can't seem to see the wrongs that are being done and want to make it right. That's like if these fools, and I say fools, honestly think Trump and Ted Cruz and all those guys actually care about them and want to fight for their rights. Think about this for a second. You fools broke into the Capitol building, stormed it, laid siege to it. Where were your buddies at then? Hiding. If they were truly there to represent you, they would have been there with you. They'd be like, oh, I'm your friend. Let's do this. Let's make it right. They didn't. They went and hid. And then to make it even better, and this right here should tell you what kind of people, politicians can be. Out of all those Republicans, all of them, 100 plus senators and congressmen who were going to contest the Electoral College, including Loeffler from Georgia, who's a fake, a phony, a liar, and a hypocrite anyhow, changed their mind. All of them, but 2. I don't even remember what 2 they were now. Ted Cruz, I think, was one of them. But all of them changed their mind and decided what you did was wrong and you're not worthy anymore. Okay? Keep that in mind, Jack. Because that's the straight dope. Maybe you should rethink your game plan. I guess that's what it's coming down to. And that's like those fools that say, well, that was Antifa that did that. That was QAnon that did that. Who the hell cares? That's a title. The fact is it was done. Don't throw a title behind it. Doesn't matter where they came from. They were there. They caused the death of 4 people. They tried to hijack democracy. Who cares where they came from? Who cares what side they were on? They're worthless pieces of trash and fools. All right, well, I have taken up 40 minutes ranting and raving, but I want people to kind of know, hey, if you were one of those people, you're a fool. All lives matter, especially black lives, especially people of color, okay? If you're white, you probably don't understand that. I didn't. And let's try doing unto others as we would have them do unto you. Okay? If you think it's wrong, don't do it to somebody else. If you want done right by, do right by them. All right, I'm done. I love you. Tell somebody else you love them. It'll make them feel a little better. Stay safe, and I will talk to you later. Bye.